AITA for refusing to split my inheritance with my siblings. This is a long one, so buckle up. I, female, 19, have an estranged grandpa more or less. He's my dad's father, but my dad hardly had a relationship with him. I have two other siblings, one younger, 13, and one older, 26. My grandma divorced my grandpa when my dad was only 10, so he lived with my grandma his whole life in a different state and didn't see him. When he got older, he saw him a little more, and my grandpa started coming around a little bit more as well. He'd stay for a week at a time and then go home. He was an old, bitter man, to be honest. He never got remarried and lived his whole life in his coastal town with the same friends he'd had his whole life. He wasn't pleasant to be around and could hold grudges longer than anyone I've ever met. But regardless of this, he was filthy rich. He owned a successful business that he sold for $1 million. He retired after selling, but his house sits on an island as well as the biggest piece of land on the island, so it sold for well over $3 million. I was never close with my grandpa, but I took after his sister, who is an RN, and he adores her. He always told me that he was proud to see me follow in her footsteps. He died a few months ago. Since then, my family has been torn apart. He left everything to me. He essentially liquidated all of his assets, and it ended up being close to $8 million. I was shocked. I didn't and still don't know what to do with the money, but I'm going to save it. My dad and stepmom as well as my siblings are hounding me to split the money with them. I just can't do it. My dad is an alcoholic who never said anything nice about his dad. Despite him being bitter, my grandpa actually bought my dad a $300,000 house. My dad would 100% drink away any money given to him. As far as my siblings, my brother has full financial support from my grandma as he is the favorite, and he's very wasteful and ungrateful. He never talks to me and always is very mean to me when he does. My little sister is the only person I've actually considered. She's very young, and that's really the only thing stopping me. Her mom is money-oriented and would take the money from her, so I'm waiting until she turns 18 and I offered to pay for her college. But now my family is telling me I'm unfair and the money doesn't belong to me and I'm not deserving of it. That I'm too young and I'll waste it on cars and clothes. I don't agree, and now they're all threatening to cut me off and never speak to me, or even sue me if I don't give them all a chunk of the money. I don't know what to do and I'm buckling under pressure here. I've already had 2 police officers out to my house because my dad is claiming I stole the money from him. Everything was through an attorney. I know I did nothing wrong legally, but morally, so am I the idiot. Update. First off, thank you to everyone for the advice, links, etc. It was greatly appreciated. It's been almost a month since my post, so I figured I'd try to update and clarify a few things. My family and I have tried reaching out to my father to get him help. He's declined. Giving him money or even bribing him with money to get help wouldn't work like some of you suggested. It's already been tested literally not even 3 months ago. My brother is fully supported by my grandparents despite being almost 30, and they have never done anything close to that for me. Therefore, I didn't feel it was necessary to give my brother anything, as he had a very bad relationship with my grandpa and only came around when he died. My mother wasn't included in the story because I didn't think it was necessary. She has worked 3 jobs her whole life to support my brother and I because my dad was negligent and threatened her, so she never got child support. She's always supported us and provided for us, even though my dad has always made double the amount she has. I didn't ask for his money. I didn't have any previous knowledge. I was even in the will. I was upset when he passed because we had always been a bit closer than him and the rest of my siblings, family. My grandfather bought my dad a very nice house. He didn't have to, but he did. My dad never said thank you. He doesn't keep it clean and doesn't take care of it. Simply, he doesn't deserve the money after everything that's even done for him. With all of that being said, here's what I've chosen to do. I've set up an account for my little sister with enough money for a 4-6-year degree, a car, and a down payment on a house. I donated a sum of it to charities, bought myself a new car, and put the rest of it away into CDs that I can't touch for another 4 years unless I pay fees to withdraw the money. I plan to renew these accounts every few years or until I absolutely need it. Again, thank you to everyone. I was scared, lost, and overwhelmed. I couldn't have done this without all the support and advice I was given. You're the idiot. So your mom suffered abuse from your dad and raised you and your siblings by herself, working 3 jobs. Is there a reason you don't want to help her? You didn't mention her being a bad person, so I would help her out in your shoes. If you don't want her to give in to pressure from family, I would just pay for a place for her to live directly so she doesn't have to worry about housing. Not the idiot. Good for you. Hopefully your sister grows up and has a good head on her shoulders. The best thing to do is to not tell anyone about your money that you don't need to know. Also, make sure you have a retirement account. Talk to an investor. It is much better to have a retirement account that works for you than to put money into CDs. AITA for not wanting to do more chores even though my boyfriend works more hours. My boyfriend, male, 24, and I, female, 24, are both students. We live together. My boyfriend is very intelligent, but he is just not an effective learner. He is a mad perfectionist. He'll review every single lecture, read every single article, and so on. He also reads everything word for word as if he had never heard of effective reading techniques. So he usually spends every day studying from 9 AM to 5 or 6 PM. I, on the other hand, like being effective and I get my stuff done a lot quicker. Now the problem is that recently my boyfriend has started to expect me to do more chores because I have more time off. We used to split chores 50/50 apart from cooking, which I do every night since he has never learned how to cook. He started making remarks that I should pick up some of his chores because I'm reading a book while he's still reviewing a lecture. The way I see it is we both have the same workload, I just handle it more effectively and already cook on top of doing my 50%. I shouldn't be punished for studying effectively. If it were occasionally when he has an assignment due I wouldn't mind, but I don't want this to be the new normal. Am I keeping score too high? Am I being unsupportive? I don't know anymore. Please Reddit tell me, am I the idiot for not wanting to do additional chores? Update. After I made my last post I realized how frustrated I actually was. So I sat down with my boyfriend and we had a serious talk. I told him that I want to go back to the old split. He wasn't happy, but I told him it's not up for discussion and if he doesn't like it he can hire a maid. He couldn't afford this. I went okayish for about 2 weeks, though I had to nag him constantly. But then 3 weeks ago my professor offered to extend my duties with him. I wouldn't only be his academic assistant anymore, but I could work in a more practical field with him too. I was thrilled and obviously accepted. I told my boyfriend that since I'll be working even more now and he doesn't work at all, I would want a real 50/50 split. This means I would have wanted him to cook and grocery shop too. He cracked the shits and told me he's already upped his game over the last few weeks and doesn't need to do more. This made me think, and I came to the conclusion that I didn't want to be with him anymore. Once I had formed the thought in my head, it was all clear to me and I didn't really have to think about it for long. I told him 2 weeks ago. I told him that my decision was final and there was no room for negotiation. He wasn't happy and promised he'd do better if I gave him another chance. I didn't and moved out. I'm living with a friend for now. I feel relieved and happy. You're the idiot. It's clear that he has a larger workload and that you just don't feel like doing what you're supposed to do. I'm glad you guys broke up and he's away from your BS. Not the idiot. I remember your post. As your now ex reminded me of my ex lol. In my country most first relationships end because young men don't pull their weight versus housework. Apparently they tend to learn from that. And in my experience after that first relationship most women hesitate to choose a second partner who's never lived with a GF before. We prefer them house trained. Haha. Would you have dumped your boyfriend for this? Let me know in the comments. Now, AITA for moving out of my house because I've had enough. So I've lived with my parents up until the age of 23. Now I know that's late, but I live in an Indian household, and usually you don't move out until you're married. Now I don't mind this, or I should say I wouldn't mind this if that house wasn't a total hellhole. There's a total of 8 people living in that house with only 3 rooms. My dad decided that we should bring our grandparents to this country, and he hasn't told me why. I have to share my room with 2 adult cousins who decided to immigrate to this country to get a better job, but they don't seem to want to move out anytime soon. And let's not forget that it's so loud. I'm a nurse and when I come home I like to relax, but I can't when there are 2 very loud people entering and leaving my room whenever they feel like it with no courtesy of being a little quiet. So I decided I had enough. I searched for an apartment near my workspace and found a nice 2-bedroom apartment. I told my parents I'm moving out and they flipped. My dad started yelling at me that I'm not married yet and it would be rude for me to move out before I'm married. My mom started crying, telling me how I could just leave her like that. I tried to ignore them, but they kept trying to stop me. So I told them that I just can't live in a place where I don't get any respect. I've been living in my apartment for just a little over a week. And let me tell you that this was the best decision I have ever made. My brain is no longer exploding from being in such a loud house because I get to control the noise that goes around in my apartment. I can't believe I didn't move out sooner, but my relatives keep telling me that my parents are heartbroken, especially my mom, that I don't care about their feelings. How am I supposed to care about their feelings if they can't understand mine? But I won't lie, I am feeling just a little bit of guilt for leaving out of the blue. Did I make the right decision? Was it okay for me to do that? Edit. For those of you asking, no, I will not be giving them a spare key because that would literally turn my life into hell. They already know my address, but the apartment complex is gated so they can't come in without me saying so. Update. Well, some time has passed now, and I can't say that things have gotten better exactly. I invited my parents over to my new apartment and had a talk with them about how this apartment is the best thing that's ever happened to me and I don't plan on moving back into the old house anytime soon. They remained calm, but after about 10 minutes of talking they suggested something that I hoped they would never suggest. They suggested that I let my cousins, who were a massive part of the reason I moved out, move in with me because, frankly, there's no room left in the house. I never thought that I would do something like this, but after they suggested that, I exploded. I yelled at them, saying that they should have thought about that before I was forced to move out due to my mental health deteriorating. I told them that they are never allowed to move in with me, and I don't have any room for them either. They yelled back, saying I'm being way too disrespectful, and I should watch my tongue around them. My mother started tearing up, but I don't care about that anymore. All the guilt that had built upon me for moving out had disappeared in that moment. I had them leave and told the watchman to never let them in without my approval. So yeah, while the situation did not at all get better, the guilt I had in my heart and mind from the last post is now completely gone because I've realized that Indian parents care not about their children's health, but their status in their families. Cousins' parents suggested they move in with me and they agreed. More. Not the idiot. Good for you for standing up for yourself. Cut contact with any relatives who are harassing you over this. A lot of cultures tell you that you should respect your parents, but I believe parents, and family in general, deserve respect when they give respect. Not the idiot. When the lease is up, try moving to another area so they don't know where you are. Only meet them in public areas and maybe keep your important doc in a safe or safety deposit box. WIBTA if I backed out on buying a Switch purely to spite my siblings. A little bit of background. I, male, 15, work a 20-hour work week along with school and make a fair wage while doing so. I've accumulated a good spending fund along with a savings fund. This is where it starts. Since I've never made a big purchase, I was doing research on something I was really into, the Nintendo Switch. It just became only $300 at my Walmart recently and I was really excited. I came to my mom and asked permission and she said, "It's your money." Sweet, I thought. I can get a Nintendo Switch so I can play with my other friends and even my grandma, who also heard I was going to buy one after my mom texted her. This is where my plan fell before me. I have 4 sisters who are all younger. They have broken 4 Wii's and multiple controllers, which is crazy. I wanted the Switch as my own thing and thought as such because, well, it's $300 and to a 15-year-old that's insane. After hearing it would not be allowed to leave the living room, and not only that, but my sisters could play it whenever, I rethought everything. I don't want to share my console because I know that not only will they not chip in, but they will destroy it. I don't want them to lose games, controllers, have rage fits, and get everything dirty and expect me to pay for more. My mom refuses to even think about me taking it to my room and said it would have to be shared. Would I be the idiot if I backed out on buying a Switch? Edits. I just want to clarify, a lot of people think my siblings are entitled, and they aren't. They are little and love playing Mario, and my mom has always been against video games. Only recently my mom has even thought about us getting games. DLCS for games. She also isn't trying to steal my money, but thank you for the concern. Also, I will be going soon to Switch Banks, but I can't make purchases over $100 on a card for a minor. I live in a big family, so we all share, no selfishness, which I understand, but since I'm getting to that age where privacy is more valuable, I put it up here as I was unsure. Thanks for helping me with this. Also, I love my mom. She isn't crazy or anything. It's just she wants everyone to share everything, and I'm no longer about that. Update. So I took a lot of your suggestions and I went to have a good conversation with my mom about the Switch. I explained how fragile it was, how much the controllers were, and how much repairing it would take. I offered that they could play, but that it could be in my room sometimes and my siblings would have to buy their own controllers to play. She said she didn't realize how fragile it was and that it was literally 10 inches of glass. She doesn't seem to notice I have it in my room, so that's good lol. She does prefer me to share it, but she is happy to see that I enjoy my new purchase, and since I was feeling happy, I bought budget-friendly, pro controllers for friends and family to play with. We love playing Ultimate Chicken Horse and my favorite is Smash Ultimate. Thanks for helping me get through this and get the best outcome. I really needed it. Also, if you recommend any Switch games, if you love to hear. I only have Smash, Ultimate Chicken Horse, and Mario Kart, so fire some at me. Not the idiot. Everybody, this is an excellent example of what a simple conversation and honest communication can accomplish. Don't go to your bestie and complain, or your mother, or your brother. Get your house in order. Don't worry about pointing blame. Think your poop through and communicate. My own motto is, say to the person what I'd say to my closest confidant. It works better than you'd think. You showed a lot of maturity, Elpis. It could have been very easy for a 15-year-old to lash out and do some stupid poop, like I probably would have. Not the idiot. Glad everything got sorted out in the end. The way you handled yourself was spectacular and you set a great example for your siblings. Wishing you and your family all the best.